Hey there, dear POPAHOLICs, it's again me, Arie Abramovich, Mr.Blackhead. Happy to see all of your smiling faces back on my channel. And for those of you who are the first time here, welcome, and I hope you enjoyed the video at least the way I enjoyed extracting those blackheads. Today in our clinic, again Amilios, but this time we are on his back. Apparently Amilios saved his back for a special occasion and haven't told me anything about it till our previous session, and oh boy, what beautiful gems he has on his back. According to his version of the story, he has those blackheads around 6 years and they have never been touched by anyone. A dream comes true, for me obviously, but you have the chance to get a glance at it. And as always, for all the newcomers here, I know that a small part of the blackheads may seem like I haven't extracted everything, but I can assure you that I always check twice and I always try to squeeze them again, usually after I finish with a specific area so that the skin would rest a bit. And most of the time, nothing comes out because the pore is empty, and therefore in the editing process, I just don't include this part of the footage. So I assume while listening to my commentary you have already seen a couple of pops, then I will let you know it's only the beginning. You can imagine what is waiting for us. Now, if you like what you're watching here and you haven't subscribed yet, then go ahead and do it right now and hit the like button. Yes. Basically, by doing those two simple things, you are helping me to gain more exposure because YouTube would recommend my videos to more people. And you ask yourself, why the hell should I care if more people are watching this channel or not? Then you should, because the more people watch my videos, the more I can invest in better camera equipment, more free treatments to people like Amilios who don't mind to be filmed, and more time for me and my cameraman, who is also my brother, to film and edit the videos so you can enjoy them. Now I've got an image in my head of you reaching in slow motion the subscription button while saying in slow motion, I am subscribing. Just imagine that that it is in slow motion, everything. That's what I imagined. The kind of things that go through my mind while I'm thinking about the script for the commentary. Okay, so after I cleared those two things out of the table, here is the topic of today, which is very close to my heart, and it is racism. I kind of feel like my commentary became a sort of a podcast, which is not always about skincare. I don't mind, of course. I generally enjoy talking about many different topics, and I do think that I have covered pretty much most of the basic skincare information that the average person should know. Once in a while I will do a Q&A in case I see that some questions were not answered or just people want to know more about specific topics, but till then I will talk about what I feel is important, and considering the fact that most of my viewers are from the US, then racism is quite an important topic right now. And as I mentioned before, this topic is very close to my heart. Now, because I'm not an American, I don't want to judge something that I have little knowledge about. All the YouTube commenters who think they are estheticians, wink wink. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, what we see here in Israel about the US is usually what Hollywood shows us. For example, the movie 12 Years a Slave is a movie that is based on a book from more than 170 years ago, but nowadays there are plenty of movies about black and white people that are equal. For example, the movie Bad Boys, Will Smith, a handsome black policeman with his less handsome partner, are two policemen that are chasing after the bad guys. And I don't know, another movie example that pops into my mind, the movie The Pursuit of Happiness, and again Will Smith. Side note, I have a man crush on him since the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. He plays a character of someone who starts with nothing at all and against all the odds becomes a very wealthy man, which is based on a real story. So all these kind of movies and the idea that America is the land of freedom and opportunities gives you really the impression that racism is a kind of pandemic that belongs to the past, at least in the United States. But once in a while, we here in Israel receive a flash news that it's not really the situation, that apparently racism is still there. And again, I don't want to judge on a topic that I don't feel I know enough, especially such a sensitive topic, but I would say two things in general. First, I love all of you, all the human beings, and if I don't like you, it's not because of your color, race, gender, religion, or whatever. It's only because you left me a nasty comment on my YouTube channel. Yes, you know who you are. and and the second thing is that I'm against violence. I'm pro-protests. I think that it is necessary and it helps people like me, for example, being aware about problems that otherwise we would have never known about, and that way to help to change the situation. But violence, oh, that's really bad. I can definitely understand where it comes from and the frustration that a lot of people are experiencing because of the racism, and especially the frustration during those super difficult times of the coronavirus. But still, I think that violence is not the way or part of the way for solving these kind of issues or any kind of issues. So after talking about how handsome is Will Smith, and forgetting to talk about Morgan Freeman's divine voice, you're probably asking yourself, hey Arie, so how the hell a white dude from the other side of the world has personal experience with racism? And so here is a topic I know a lot about, and therefore I will elaborate. My story of racism begins somewhere in Europe during the Second World War, and it's called Holocaust. You know, I'm an Israeli and Jewish, and my origins are from Europe, so quite a good chance that I have some kind of personal connection to the Holocaust. And for those of you who have never heard about it, I will provide a very short version of it. It's a massive genocide that was done in many parts of Europe, officially by the German government at that time, which caused the death of more than 6 million Jews. And by the way, along with the Jews, people with autism, handicaps, gays, gypsies, and mentally sick people, all of those were killed too. And if you want the longer version, I will leave it to Google. By the way, if you randomly pick someone on the streets of Israel, you will have a chance of, I believe, about 40% to pick someone who has at least one person who died or survived the Holocaust in their family. In my case, I have my grandfather who survived the Holocaust, but his twin brother didn't. And my grandmother's half of the family was murdered during this time. So here is exhibit number 1 for my relationship with racism. But it doesn't end here. Racism wasn't something exclusive for Germany at the time. It was actually around entire Europe at one level or another. And you would think that the world would learn something from this horrible experience, but the world sometimes has a very short memory. And so while my parents grew up in Ukraine in the 70s and the 80s, they still have experienced a lot of racism for being Jewish. And therefore, when the Soviet Union collapsed in the 90s, one of the main reasons for my entire family to leave Ukraine was the racism and hatred from their fellow neighbors. Not the only reason, but definitely a crucial one. But again, racism doesn't stop even here. Even though in Israel there are so many different ethnic groups, West European Jews, East European Jews, Moroccan Jews, Ethiopian, Iraqi, Afghani, Persian, Indian, Egyptian, Lebanese, Libyan, Turkish, Mexican, American, British, South American, Canadian, Russian Jews, and just naming Jews. And also we have Muslim Arabs, Christian Arabs, Armenians, Druze, Circassians, and sorry if there is someone I have forgotten, but you get the idea. Israel is the most ethnic mixed place I have ever seen in my life. And still there is a lot of racism here, but I have to say that nowadays quite significantly less than in the past. So every now and then there is a major wave of immigration from a specific country. And in the early 90s, there was a huge wave of immigration of Jews from the Soviet Union, which I was part of it. Just to put it into perspective, at that time, the Israeli population was around 6 million citizens. And this wave of immigration that obviously took a couple of years was more than 1 million people. So long story short, my parents ran away from Ukraine because they were called filthy Jews. Go to your country, you're not welcome here. And when we came here to Israel, a place that should be safe for Jews, We were called filthy Russians. Go back to Russia. You are not welcome here. Anyway, during the 90s, I suffered a lot from racism. I was bullied a lot for being so-called a Russian immigrant. I really don't remember even 1 week that I haven't been beaten by my neighbors. I think that maybe even till the age of 12 or something like that. Also, one of the scenes that I still remember in my mind as if it was yesterday is a scene where I was around the age of 6 and I went with my parents to the supermarket and the cashier told us, "I don't serve filthy Russians, go to another cashier." These kind of things were something that me and my family experienced on a daily basis, but over the years came to Israel different immigration waves from different countries, and every time the new group suffered from racism. One of the latest groups that are still suffering till this day are Ethiopian Jews. The thing is that when I suffered from racism, I did everything to become an Israeli, so that no one would know that my origins are from Ukraine. I changed my name to a more Israeli name. I learned to speak Hebrew better than most of the Israelis. I had only Israeli friends who were born here. I stopped talking in Russian and I was embarrassed at my origins till the last couple of years. And even to this day, everyone who encounters me is sure that I was born here. But Ethiopian Jews can't do what I did because of their skin color. They would be always labeled as Ethiopians. And that is one of the reasons why they are still suffering from racism here today. Anyway, my final point after telling you my story about racism is that it is bad, as if we didn't know it before, but it is really bad. It makes people leave their home as my parents did. It makes people deny their identity as I did for many years, and it makes people kill each other as the policemen did with George Floyd and as the Nazis did with my family. I believe in constructive energy, not in destructive energy. When you use destructive energy, eventually not only the person who received the energy is suffering, but the person who used it suffers as well. Take for example the story of the policeman who killed George Floyd. He used the destructive energy and now he lost his job and would probably face a trial for murder. He ruined both someone's life and his own life. However, constructive energy does good for everyone. A small example, not related to racism, is the prison system in Norway, in which they use constructive energy with the inmates and really take care of their rehabilitation. Only 20% of the people who were in jail in Norway returned to crime, which is one of the lowest rates in the world, especially if you compare it to the US, which is 76% of the people who get out of the jail return only after 5 years. So let's say there is someone that you don't like, and I hope it's not because of prejudgment and especially not because of their race or color. Instead of hurting them or using, as I said, destructive energy, try to see how you can use constructive energy, how you can help them instead. And believe me, you will experience magic. I use this kind of technique a lot when I worked as a waiter especially, and I always made the angriest customers become satisfied customers and even get a very nice tip from them. You see, I used constructive energy and eventually I even gained more money for my service. If you have a story where you have used constructive energy and you had an amazing result, I would love to read about it in the comments below. And if you don't remember something like this, then I challenge you to do it and to write me in the comments what was your experience with this technique. Today was a really long commentary. I'm not even sure that we have left time for the music part, but before I finish, I just want to remind you about my Patreon page. As always, the more support I get from you, my dear Popaholics, the more videos I can produce and the better quality they will be. Also, for those of you who would support me on Patreon, you will be able to enjoy things like a monthly meeting with me where we can talk about everything, your name in the credits, for example, early access to videos, and many more cool stuff. But one thing that will always be free for everyone are the popping videos here on YouTube. Those things I believe should be 100% free for everyone, no matter if you can or can't support me. So just check out the link for my Patreon page in the description below or in the comments. You really should, because it's a very, very pretty link. That's it for today, and if there is still time for the music, then enjoy the rest of the video with the music I've chosen especially for you.
Hey there, dear Popaholics, I hope you've liked this video, and by the way, remember to visit my Patreon page. The link is in the description below or in the comments. And if you want to continue and watch more of my videos, then I do recommend one of those two. And thank you very much for watching. Have a wonderful rest of the day. See you next time, Mr. Blackhead.